Morning, good to see you.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Very
yes.
good, you can hear me. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay, so today we are doing Zimun. We're continuing in Zimun. You're welcome. We'll get Yosef is coming in. We'll get Yosef. Good morning. We are on Nun Amud Beis. The last thing that we are
Morning, Rabbi.
we said last time. Morning, Yosef. How you doing? Everything good?
Thank God. So far, so good.
Yosef, I can't hear you.
Yes, so far, so good.
Are you muted?
No?
You hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see if I can hear you. Okay. I can't really hear you. Maybe let's see if we'll hear you better. 1 second. Yosef, you want to talk? Let me see if I can hear your voice.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm inviting more people.
Let me just see what we could do. Morning, Morris. How are you? Things are good. Thank you for coming on. Just trying to see why I can't hear you. We've had this trouble in the past sometimes. That
Good
you hear
morning.
me and I don't hear you. It's a one-way street.
Okay,
That we
can you
are like
close
a
the door?
two-way street. You know what I mean? Okay.
I can hear Morris, but
I
and can
can
hear you.
Maybe I got it. Maybe this mute button.
No, I think you have to. Now we cannot hear you. You're on mute. I think you have to raise your volume higher.
You're able to hear me, right?
Now, yeah.
Avram, you can hear me, right? But I can't hear you. Okay. That's the only problem here. Okay. Okay, we'll start, all right? And hopefully we'll fix it that I'll be able to hear you. Does that make sense? Avram, that makes sense? Yeah. Tikva. Hello? Okay. Tikva? Yeah, I can hear, they hear me, but I don't hear them, by the way. Hello? What do you recommend? Avrami, talk. Let me see if I hear you now. Avrami, want to talk? No.
Yes, you hear me?
Them.
You hear
Talk. I
me?
don't hear them.
You hear me?
What'd you say?
You hear me?
Let me hear your voice. I can't, they're talking. I don't hear them.
We can hear each other, but he cannot hear us. I think his volume of the computer is low. That's
What'd you
why.
say?
I think your volume in the computer is low.
I don't hear them. Hello? Okay. The audio settings are right? Okay. So I'll tell you, like everybody, when you want to speak, I can hear you. You can call my phone. I said that if you have people that are part of the I would like to just do on the phone, have everyone on the call, because I think it's too distracting. You know what? I think, you know what? But I can't hear them. So, hello, right?
Hi, Rabbi, can you hear me?
I can't hear them. Morris, maybe
I
just
can hear you, Maurice, but he cannot
call
hear
my
us.
phone.
Maybe somebody call
So we'll
him and
try to
tell
put it
him
on the,
just
do a
to
phone
talk and
conference,
just
because
do
if I
the
can't
class
hear
like
you
that.
guys, I don't think it's so good. Avram, you hear what I just said?
I hear you. Do you hear me?
Morris, you want to send to the group?
Yeah,
Morris, send
what?
to the group to call my phone, okay? My number is,
Right now?
you don't mind, 347-831-0316.
Okay, hold on. I mean, 347, what is it?
Okay, thank you very
83.
much.
All right, you got it.
Because I'm gonna end this because I think, thank you very much, take care. Thank you, Morris. Yeah, you sent to the group to call my number?
Tell the rabbi, I'm going to stay on here.
But
He
it's
can
like,
keep it open. And
I
if
feel
I
like
want,
I'm
I call
talking to
him.
myself,
I
you know
just
what I
don't
mean?
want to call him on the phone line.
Hold on a second, Rami. How are you, Rami? How are you? Okay, right, sorry for the difficulty getting through today. All right, Morris, how you doing? Okay, Mike, I'm on the phone. I'm using the phone. No, I'm not using the. Okay, so the thing is like this. Now at least I can hear you guys. So the Gemara says, once you were part of the Zimun of Al Azman Alayim Tuchtayu, once you were part of the Zimun, Paruch Zimun Minayu. The Zimun, that you're no longer, once you answer for the Zimun, you're no longer able to, when you go together with three other people, now you answer to that Zimun. And now these three people that answer to the previous Zimun come together. Since you answered to the previous Zimun, you don't answer now. Now you don't make a Zimun. You already fulfilled your mitzvah of Zimun by answering the first time. So the way Rashi explains, when these people join the Zimun, Rashi says, Rashi says, let's say sometimes a guy needs to leave. So, and the people decided they made a Zimun, they called you, and you answered, you responded to the Zimun. And now you did not do Birkat HaMazon. You just responded to the Zimun. You said, in the Baruch Shachal, they said the Baruch Shachal Mishalom. You responded Baruch Shachal Mishalom. And now you went and you got together with these other two people. They only responded to a Zimun, but they did not actually say Birkat HaMazon. They only responded. Like we said, sometimes if you're able to just respond and do Birkat HaMazon, sometimes we say you can respond to a Zimun and do Birkat HaMazon and you can finish eating and do Birkat HaMazon later. 2 minutes later, you just responded. But once you responded to the Zimun, the mitzvah of Zimun is finished from you. And now, the fact that now you come together with a couple of other guys and you want to do Birkat HaMazon now, but you can't do Zimun now. You already did the Zimun. The Zimun is already gone. And Omar Rava, and Rava says, how do I know this idea? That the Zimun is already gone, that once you went ahead and you answered to the Zimun, you can't now go ahead and make another Zimun because you already fulfilled your mitzvah of Zimun. Amar Rava Menah Minallah, how do I know that? Good morning, Joseph. Titnan, we learned in the Mishnah. Mita shenigdava chetzia. If you have a bed, if half the bed was stolen. If there was a bed and half the bed was stolen, Usha'avda chesya. They took apart the bed. You have a whole bed. Good morning, Joseph. And they took apart half the bed, or half the bed somehow got lost. And the owner of the bed, meaning let's say the bed fell in transportation, part of the bed fell off. Obviously, they most probably had sections. They had the bed and they made sections to put the bed together. So if part of the bed fell off and you only have half the bed left, well, let's say brothers, they lost their father and they divided the bed, and each brother took a half of the bed. Well, let's say they were partners and the partners divided the bed, and that bed was tamei. Beforehand, while it was a whole bed, it was tamei. Let's say a nida slept on that bed and made the bed tamei. But now that the bed is no longer whole, it's considered broken. It was broken into half. So the bed is considered tahar. It's like a utensil. If you have a utensil that became tamei, once you break the utensil, it's no longer tamei because it's no longer in the world anymore, so to speak. It's broken. It's not considered here anymore. So therefore, similarly, if you took a bed and you cut the bed in half, you divided the bed. Let's say it was a nice big bed, and now you cut it in half, and now the bed is no longer, the bed is considered like it's broken. It's not the bed that the normal use of the bed was a whole bed, and now it's a broken bed because you only have half the bed. So then it's not tamei. Hezirua, but if let's say you took the pieces of the bed and you put them back together, we say now it's no longer a broken thing. So it's no longer a broken thing. It has the ability to become tamei in the future. It has the ability because it's called a keli. It's called a utensil, meaning it doesn't seem like it was such a large bed to begin with. It was a regular normal sized bed. So when you break a normal sized bed in half, it's considered broken. A broken bed is no longer tamei because it's no longer the utensil anymore because it was broken. So therefore, it loses the status of tumah that it once had. Now that you put the bed back now, and at this point, it doesn't have the ability to receive tumah. It's a broken utensil. It doesn't have the ability to become tameh. But once you put the bed back together, now it's considered a keli. It's considered a utensil. It has the ability to receive tumah, and therefore, if something comes in contact with it, it will become the bed can now. If a nida will now go on the bed will become tamei. But if the nida does not go on the bed, even though the bed was put back together and it was tamei before you took apart the bed, but since it lost its status of a bed, we don't say that now the fact that it comes back together, you go ahead and now it goes back to the original that it has that now it's tamei like it was before. We don't say that. So we say mekabel tumah mikan lahaba. It only receives tumah from now on. It has the ability to receive tumah, but we don't say retroactively. Now it's now becomes tamei again. So that's what the Gemara says. Mikan lahaba in. We say it only could receive tumah now on, but lemafreya lo. We don't say that the contamination that was on the bed before it was broken, and then the contamination left as a result that it became broken. We don't say that contamination comes back once the parts of the bed come back together. So the Gemara says, we see, Kivon de Palgua, since they divided the bed, Harach la tuma mina, the tuma, the contamination left the bed. Pachinami, the Gemara says. So too, the Gemara wants to say, even the Azmun Alayu. Once you answer to a Zimun, and you already don't have the obligation of Zimun because you already answered to the first group. Then the fact that you come together with other people, we don't say that now the Zimun, the obligation of Zimun comes on you. Paruch Zimun Minayu. Then the Zimun leaves, and therefore the Zimun does not come back. So therefore, that's what the Gemara says. So once you are part of a Zimun, you lost the status of, you can't now go ahead and make a new Zimun because you already answered, and now the Zimun was already done in the past. So if you look in the Shulchan Aruch regarding this halacha, the Shulchan Aruch is in Arachayim, Simekuf Sad Gimel Sif Hey. So let's try to see Kuf Sad Gimel Sif Hey more about this halacha. So it says like this: 3 people that came from 3 groups of 3 people, and these 3 guys came together. We had a group A of 3 people, group B of 3 people, group C of 3 people. And each of these 3 groups, one guy left this group of 3, each group, one guy left. If before they left, they made a Zimun in their place, when they had 3 people, they answered to a Zimun before they left. And they each answered to the Zimun. They said, Baruch Shachan Mishalom. Then the way the Shulchan Aruch says, they cannot join to Zimun, even if they ate later on, and they ate together with other people, with each of these 3 people who had left their first group, but they answered to the first group. Even if they ate together, these 3 people ate together, and they finished their meal, they cannot make a Zimun again. If they did not make a Zimun in their first place with them, and they ate, each of these 3 people ate with their respective group, there was 3, 3, and 3, and everybody ate together 3, 3, 3, and then they left, they had an obligation of Zimun, and therefore when they come together, they make a Zimun, even if these 3 people did not eat anything when they came together. Group 1 had 3, group 2 had 3, group 3 had 3, and a member from each of these 3 groups. Each member had an obligation of Zimun. If they did not do a Zimun when they were with their first, each of these groups, and then a member of each of these groups come together, because they had an obligation of Zimun on them, they need to make a Zimun. It's an amazing thing. I would never have thought that I didn't even eat with these 2 other guys. I ate with Reuven and Shimon. And this other guy ate with 2 other guys, and this other guy ate with 2 other guys. But each of us had an obligation of Zimun because we had 3 in each group. I was part of a group of 3. He was part of a group of 3. He was part of a group of 3. You have an obligation of Zimun. If you didn't do the Zimun in your group when you were with the group of 3, now you guys come together and each one of you had an obligation of doing a Zimun of a group bracha. So then you have an obligation even with the stranger that you didn't even eat with. But he also had an obligation of Zimun. So the Mishnah Berurah asked the question, the Chafetz Chaim asked the question. He says, what do you say? What do you say? The Chafetz Chaim says, now, he says, even though we know you're not allowed to separate from a group of 3, because you're making them lose the Zimun. So how will each one of these guys leave their original group of 3? So the Mishnah Berurah says, let's say there was some sort of situation, because it says that let's say if there's an ones or a loss of money, a person is able to finish his meal before the other guys, which means to say, technically you have an obligation of zimun. When three people start a meal together, you have an obligation of zimun. But let's say if he's going to wait for the other people to finish their meal, he's going to go ahead and have a loss of money. So he says, you're in that situation, you can finish your meal before the other two guys. I mean, ideally, I would say in that case, ask the other two guys to answer to you zimun, to go above the letter of the law, because two guys can answer to one guy if one guy's ready to say Birkat HaMazon. But it was a scenario that the guy was able, for whatever reason, to leave the first original group. He left the first original group, and now each one, now they come together, but each one had an obligation of zimun with the original group. So now they make a zimun together as this new group, as long as it didn't answer zimun in the first group. And the Chafetz Chaim says, what do you mean? Don't you have to say Birkat HaMazon in the place that you ate? How could you go ahead if each member left a group of three and a group of three and a group of three, and now they come and they form a new group? How could they leave? You have to go back. If you ate in place one, and now you didn't even eat in place two, and you tell me they're making a zimun, they're saying Birkat HaMazon with a zimun in place two, without even eating together in place two. But you have to say Birkat HaMazon where you ate. So he says, some say that, if you left b'shogeg, if a person left unintentionally, you left really, ideally, you should always go back to the place where you ate in order to say Birkat HaMazon. If you left intentionally, b'meizid, you have to go back. If, let's say, unintentionally, some circumstance happened and let's say you left the place, but let's say you didn't intend to, or whatever the case was, it was a shogeg that you left. Let's say you didn't know that you weren't allowed to leave the place. You thought you could say Birkat HaMazon anywhere you are. You didn't know I'm doing something wrong. So then we don't obligate you to go back if it was a shogeg, according to the Rambam. And now, according to the Rambam's opinion. So now, there's another explanation that some say, okay, so so we'll go with that. We'll go with that explanation. So now, so that's the chidush of the Shulchan Aruch and of the halacha. Now, the next halacha says in the Shulchan Aruch, if you have three groups, and each group had four people, and you are obligated to be part of the zimun of that group, and you joined another group, and the people of your first group made a zimun. I was part of group number one. There were four people in my group. And I left my group, and I left three people there. Now, really, I have an obligation to do zimun in my group. But for whatever reason, I left my group. I left them as with three people. If they made a zimun, and now I was part of that group that was supposed to do zimun. If I left and they made a zimun, I wasn't there, I lost the zimun. So therefore the Mishnah Berurah says, he says, now he says the following. He says the zimun, once if the other three guys made a zimun and I wasn't part of it, I started out as part of a group of four people. And I left the group, which I should not have done, because I have an obligation to zimun. But if I left the group and they made a zimun, I have lost my zimun because I wasn't there. But he says, now the Mishabura says, "B'zeh dafka im lo ochlu achakach yachdav." Okay, we'll hold that point. Okay, so now that ends that point. Now in the Yalkut Yosef, he says that if you have, he talks about the story of our Gemara. Let's see if we find the case. So he says 3 people that ate together, and one of them, he says, one of them forgot, or let's say if one of them, we said, if one of the 3 people forgot and said Birkat HaMazon, right? He was supposed to do a zimun. This is something that we discussed last week. You have 3 people eat together. If one of them forgot and said and jumped the gun and said Birkat HaMazon, he lost out zimun for himself because he said Birkat HaMazon without zimun. However, even though he lost Birkat HaMazon himself, but he could go ahead and still answer for those 2 people. Those 2 people that did not yet make a zimun, the fact that one guy said Birkat HaMazon, he lost out because he needs to say zimun, he needs to answer zimun before he says Birkat HaMazon for him to fulfill his mitzvah zimun. But they who did not do Birkat HaMazon yet, they could go ahead and count him in, and he could still respond Baruch Shachal Mishalo if that happens. If they all said Birkat HaMazon, it's finished. You can't say zimun afterwards. You can't say, let's just say Nevarach Shachal Mishalo, Baruch Shachal Mishalo Tzlochinu. You can't do that. It's too late. Once everybody has said Birkat HaMazon. He says clearly, let's say if some people finished eating and some people want to continue eating, make a zimun, ask the people to wait a minute, to respond to the zimun, let them respond Baruch Shachal Mishalo. If they're Sfardim, they just have to, then they continue eating. And if the Ashkenazim, then the Mezamein, the one who's leading the zimun, should say out loud the first bracha until Azan Sakol, and then the other people can continue eating. That's what he says. Also, he says what we said in the Gemara, if let's say you come to a group of people and 3 people ate and they're making a zimun and you're number 4, you didn't eat anything, and they say Nevarel Shachal Mishalo, you cannot respond Baruch Shachal Mishalo T'vochinu because you did not eat. If you just came in and you did not eat, what do you respond? What do you respond? You respond, Baruch Mevarach Shemo Tamid L'Olam Ba'ed. That's the response that you respond if you did not eat anything. Okay, I want to wish everybody a great day. Sorry we're having technical difficulty with the machine. All the best to everybody. We'll be
Thank you, Rabbi.
now tomorrow. We hope not to have any trouble. We're using a different computer tomorrow. We'll be on at 6:45 tomorrow in the morning. Because of the slichot schedule, we're gonna be on at 6:45. I want to wish everyone a great day. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you. Take care.
Take care, Rabbi. Shabbat shalom.
Bye-bye.